the Celtics were an embarrassment. If they lose this series, they will be a failure. And at the same time, too, you look back at the Hawks series. This game last night reminded me of some games in that series. It was like they just don't feel like playing half the time. Like they don't. They just say, hey, you know what? We're going to sit back on defense. We're going to let you make shots. We're not going to have that killer mentality. As good as Tatum was, he kind of went cold in the spots that we needed him to make some shots. I was actually out at Buffalo Wild Wings with my buddy last night, and we're watching the game, and Tatum had 37 points with like 3 minutes to go. Celtics were in a position of power, and they were in position to win the game. And I said to him, if Tatum doesn't hit 40, the Celtics will lose this game. He had 39.
He didn't make a field goal for the last 11 minutes either. And I mean, the Celtics gave up a 12-4 run at the end of the game. By the way, guys, in case you didn't see the game, 76ers win this one 119-115. Harden hits a step back three with just about 10 seconds left to put them up 2. Celtics turn the ball over. Marcus Smart was great in the closing minutes, but then he commits the foul and he has the terrible turnover at the end of the game, which kind of lost it for him. That's just what the ups and downs you expect with Marcus Smart. But yeah, I mean, Tanner, I told you about this in our, was it in the group chat or in our text messages, whichever one it was. I texted you and I said after the game, I was a proud 76ers moneyline ticket holder. And yes, you know what, Tanner? Exactly the things you were talking about. This is just what we expect from the Celtics. The Celtics, they have a lot of the same Lakers problem. I mean, how many times have we gotten on this show and said the Lakers absolutely should have won this game, but they just didn't show up. Anthony Davis got 12 points. LeBron didn't even try. The Celtics have that same gene in them, where they're just random games that there's no reason they should lose it, and that's what ends up happening. So I bet the 76ers, because this was a perfect spot for the Celtics to disappoint you. I mean, this should be a sweep. They've owned the 76ers historically. They're at home. Embiid, who's going to win MVP, is not playing. The Celtics basically didn't have a center for half of the night, and when Paul Reed in there, he wasn't providing any sort of interior defense. Like, the Celtics shot close to 60% from the field. They could not miss in the first quarter. Didn't they start 13 of 14 or 14 of 15 from the field?
Yeah,
it was just an offensive explosion. It was a masterclass. And similar to what I was saying with the Knicks Heat game, which we're going to get into later, but the Knicks had everything go right for them, and they only went into halftime up by 5 points. When halftime rolled around for the Celtics, I said, the Celtics should be winning by 30 or 40 points. There is absolutely no reason for it to be this close right now. And Tatum, it was the second quarter where he was just not missing. He was unconscious. I said, Tatum is just a quarter-to-quarter guy. I guarantee you he's awful in the third or the fourth quarter. It ended up being the fourth quarter, and that's why they lost.
I haven't seen him put together like a full game this year. And also just picking on some players. Derek White, how many turnovers did he have down the stretch? He was horrendous. Malcolm Brogdon made a couple big shots, but then he's pulling up, taking shots that he has no business taking. Jaylen Brown pretty much quiet the entire night, like didn't do enough.
Hold on, let's stop on Brown though, because he was 8 of 10 from the field. He had 23 points. Like, objectively, he was good. He just didn't shoot the ball.
Yeah, he didn't do enough. Like, he didn't have the killer mentality, maybe because Tatum had it, but like down the stretch, Tatum got really cold. Let's see who else I can pick on. Horford made a few big shots. He didn't really play a big of a role. Like, I'm putting this game on their lack of defensive effort. And there's been so many games this season where they come out and shoot 60% from the field and end up losing because they just don't play defense. And we saw it in the Hawks series. Like, there were games when it was like, hey, you go win the game. Like, we don't want to win it. Like, we're good. We're good. We're going to beat you anyways. But the Sixers, I feel a little more concerned about because they do have talent. And when Embiid comes back, and I think he's probably not going to play in game 2. But when he does come back, like, the Sixers are a competitive team, and you got to go to Philly, and that's a hostile environment. Like, game 2 is a must win for Boston right now. So am I concerned? No, but still, I would have rather had them win game 1.
The only reason, if this was any other series, I would say that if the Celtics lose game 2, the series is over. I'm not going to say that because Embiid, we don't know how long he's going to be sitting out. Skip Bayless said on his show that he has some torn knee ligaments. I haven't seen that report corroborated by anybody else, but everybody's saying that he's got some sort of problem with his LCL at the very least. So is he going to come back in the series? And when he does, is he going to have a brace on? How good is he going to be? We kind of don't know. So pretty much no matter what happens, I can't say the series is over because the Celtics are clearly superior to the 76ers. And I mean, James Harden was excellent. He had 45 points. He was hitting so many clutch shots. but it did tie a playoff career high for him. And Harden isn't the most clutch player to begin with. He's not in the best shape anymore. He was shooting 37% from the field entering this game. So you're not going to be able to get that level of performance from him. Also, you're not going to get DeAnthony Melton getting 17 points in the first 10 minutes of the basketball game just to keep you in contact. Like, a lot of things did go right for the 76ers to win this game. And based on the shooting splits, whatever they break down to, I think it was 58, 38, and 94 for the Celtics. No team in NBA history has ever lost having those shooting splits. So very much an aberration type game, and it really depends on what's going to happen moving forward. But what I do have to say is a bigger concern just from the broader picture. Tanner, Joe Mazzulla just got outcoached again, and he got outcoached against Quinn Snyder in a couple of games at the end of that series, and he couldn't figure out how to get Tatum going in those moments where he needed to. Again, Jaylen Brown had a cooking, but there was no emphasis on getting him the ball. And then James Harden was pretty much getting whatever he wanted on the defensive end in the fourth quarter. If you're Joe Mazzulla, you got to find a way to first of all help your guys and take away from the 76ers guys.
He doesn't coach. Like I'm dead serious. Like he does not coach. He just lets these guys go out and play. Do you notice that? Like he has no fire. There's absolutely no fire in this guy.
I mean, I would never say he doesn't coach.
You know what I mean? There's no fire. There's no fire.
You don't have noticeable in-game adjustments coming from the Celtics, is what I will say.
Never. It's just like Tatum and Brown. Hey guys, go play schoolyard basketball. We don't play defense. Just go make shots. Like that's what it seems like to the outside perspective. Like I've never seen him get after anyone. He should be getting after Tatum's ass every time this man misses a free throw and complains about a foul shot because he's not getting back in transition and he's not playing defense. And that's a problem. Like the biggest problem for the Celtics this season has been their lack of defense. Obviously, Tatum going cold, but I will give Tatum some credit. He steps up when he needs to step up consistently. Like when you need a shot in the fourth quarter and he's been bad the whole game, I'm still okay with him having the basketball in his hands. But defensively, this team needs to figure it out. Now, going into game 2, Grant, I will lay the 9 points with the Boston Celtics here because this is usually their MO. They play terrible in game 1. They come out, their defensive effort's insane in the next game, and they still shoot 60% from the field.
Yeah, I got bit by this with the Suns and the Nuggets. I had the same approach going into game 2, and the Nuggets ended up covering. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. I would be leaning more towards the Celtics as well. I'm probably not going to bet this game just because the 9 is pretty high, and I don't have total confidence in the Celtics. But I do think if you were forcing me to bet, I would go with the Celtics at -9. Again, so much went right for the 76ers. Harden's been inconsistent. I mean, the Celtics, we can talk about they threw the game away, but they still had an utterly incredible offensive performance. We've seen that they can do it to the 76ers team. And the 76ers just had no resistance on the interior without Embiid. It really showed what he means to the defense. Not that we ever questioned it. Like they had the #1 defensive rating in the playoffs and in the regular season, but it looked like an all-star game without Embiid in there. There was just nothing they could do to keep the Celtics out of the paint. So would not be surprised if the Celtics win that game like 130 to 110, but still, personally, I'm probably not going to bet on that one.
Yeah, play the over, probably. That's the best move. Warriors, Lakers, Grant. I'll let you kick it off here because you're the LeBron super fan here. The Warriors did win the last series, and I just say I called it the entire time.
I'm objective with my fandom on this show, Tanner. So let's kill that. Look, the Warriors did win that series. It took the best player for the Kings breaking a finger in his shooting hand. So let's calm down before we say it was an incredible team effort for the Warriors to win that game. Now, what I will not take away from is that was just an all-time great performance from an individual, Steph Curry. I mean, he was everything to the Warriors. I've been saying it, Tanner. How long have I been saying the Kings are a better team than the Warriors? And look, I still firmly believe that. The Kings were up 2-1 when their best player, broke a finger in his shooting hand. De'Aaron Fox's stats pre-injury and post-injury fell off a cliff. I still think they would have won the series if he was healthy. But let's take Steph and let's take Fox out of the equation, or even going into the next round. Let's take LeBron and let's take Steph out of the equation. The mismatch between the teams is glaring. I mean, the Warriors are not good. They were not good. In Game 7, Poole, Clay, and Wiggins combined for 41 points, so less than 14 apiece, on 27% shooting. Kevon Looney, like seriously, Steph Curry obviously was the best player in that game, but Kevon Looney looked like the second best player on the Warriors team. A Warriors team that is the defending champions, that have won 4 out of the last 8 titles, one of the most vaunted dynasties of all time. They look awful. Like, you take out Steph, and they look like they would be one of the 5 worst teams in the league. Seriously. And
But, the,
so
but
go
go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, the NBA is driven around stars, Grant. Just keep that in mind. They got
It
stars.
is. It is absolutely driven around stars. But to see the magnitude that Steph holds, and Steph gave that, I don't know if you saw the report, but Steph supposedly gave this incredible pregame speech before they were leaving for game 7. He said, look, if you're not ready to give everything that you have, you don't get on the bus. I don't want to see you, right? Nobody listened to him. Like, everybody's giving credit for giving that speech and then winning the game. Nobody stepped up except for Looney. Steph took his own advice. He had 50 points, a playoff career high, the most in the history of game 7s. He had 38 field goal attempts. That's not Steph's MO. Like you were saying, that's the Celtics MO to come out off a loss. It's not Steph Curry's MO to come out and just jack up a bunch of shots. He's normally in the teens or the 20s. He goes for 38 field goal attempts and he shoots over 50% from the field. Like, seriously, just one of the best individual performances of his career and of the past decade or so. And that's why they got in the next round. But I still don't think the Warriors are that good.
I don't think they're that good, but Steph Curry's good enough to change a game. And that's what you got to look at in this series. Is Steph Curry going to be able to take it over? Klay Thompson, game 6, Klay did not come out, if I remember correctly, right? No, yeah. So I would be on the Lakers in this series coming up. Series price wise, well, the Lakers are dogs in the series, I imagine.
That is beyond disrespectful, I will say too, because the Lakers, until yesterday, we're recording this Tuesday, it comes out Wednesday. So until Monday's game between Denver and Phoenix, the Lakers are second in net rating. The Nuggets used that game to move past them, so now the Lakers are third. But the Warriors are 7th. The net rating is completely different in the regular season, again, in favor of the Lakers. Their defensive rating, the Lakers are number 1 in the playoffs. Again, same thing. They were second, but the 76ers, who were first, give up so many points, they dropped to second. The Warriors have only won 1 game in their last 4 against the Lakers. The Lakers were 3-0 against the Lakers in the regular season since the trade deadline when they made all those moves. Steph Curry, ever since LeBron showed up in Los Angeles, in those 12 matchups against one another, is averaging only 21 points per game. Like, there is just so much saying the Lakers should win this game. Also, by the way, Lakers, they're resting 2 extra days. We know how important that is for someone who's often injured like Anthony Davis and someone who's as old as LeBron James. And the Warriors had to expend all that emotional energy in a road game 7. Like, the fact the Lakers are dogs in this series just kind of blows my mind. I think, Tanner, we started off the playoffs giving our best bets for the NBA Finals futures. And I said, look, the Warriors being third favorites in the West is just sports books playing to the bettor's bias. I don't believe that they think the Warriors have the third best odds in the West. I think it's that same sort of phenomenon. I think if you break this down objectively, the Lakers should be minus 150, minus 160 favorites. But the sports books know the bettors are going to view the Warriors as the better team, especially with Steph dropping that 50-point game. So I think this line is disingenuous personally, and I would be hammering the Lakers.
Lakers plus 134 to win the series right now. Very, very good odds right there for that. That's a decent bet right there. Lakers plus 134. I do like the Lakers in this series ultimately. I think the Warriors will win game 1 is in Golden State, right? It's in Golden State. Yeah, so I think the Warriors will win game 1, and that's an opportunity to wait as well. Wait after game 1. If the Warriors were to win that game, the Lakers' price would just be even more juicy. Now you are playing them down 1 game, but still a strategy you can take there.
I'm going to take the Lakers in game 1. I'm going to take them with the points. I'm going to think about the money line as we get closer to the game, but I'm definitely going to be taking it with the points. And I mean, we're going to know the result of this by the time this podcast comes out. The one thing that I do want to watch in this series is LeBron James is pretty clearly injured. Like, if you watch these games, he's had low energy in the past just because he's been getting old, but he has basically no energy. A lot of the times in offense, he's sitting in the corner. Weirdly, he was expending himself more on defense in the first round. Now, I don't know if that was an intentional game plan from Darvin Ham because Memphis allowed the lowest field goal percentage to opponents in the regular season, so they knew that it was going to be a defensive battle. Or I wonder if it was a LeBron sort of self-diagnosed plan because he knew his offense wasn't going in that first round, and he said, well, I've got to impact the game somehow. I'm really going to be looking at this game 1. I don't think it's going to be a traditional LeBron feel-out game, which we were talking about at the start of the Memphis series. Even if he has a slow game, I think it's going to be because he's trying to score. He only averaged 22 points per game in the first round, shot 19% from 3. Both of those are just awful. So I really do want to look at this first game and maybe even the second game to see if he is truly injured or if for some reason he just didn't have it going against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, I think LeBron needs to come out and attack. That's the way they win this series. Obviously, it can't come down to Hachimura and Reeves. Like it just simply can't. Like as the playoffs progress, it's got to be LeBron being the authority and AD being a sidekick. Nuggets Suns, Grant. This series probably over. You look at the Suns; their bench strength is going to hurt them throughout the remainder of the time they are in the postseason. Nuggets benches look great. Jamal Murray's been showing up. Nikola Jokic's been showing up. I've said it all along. I think we've said it all along. Phoenix's bench is a concern, and they sold their soul to get KD, and nobody won that trade. There's not one team that won that trade. Everyone got worse by it. So bringing KD in made the hype around the Suns much greater, but it's not going to lead to a championship.
Look, even if they get out of this round, there is just no way they win a championship. You cannot win the NBA Finals with this bench. And Kevin Durant finally looked human. Now, I don't know if that was an accumulation of the fatigue that they've put on his body over the past, 6 games, 7 games, including game 2. I don't know if it was just an off night for him, but Devin Booker has been nothing short of sensational, and he's been better than Durant in these playoffs, which is kind of weird to say. But Chris Paul going out of that game in the fourth quarter with the groin tightness really just it emphasized the lack of depth that they had, because the Suns were winning at the start of the fourth quarter and they should have won. They should have at least covered the +4. I was the Suns +4 better. But once he went out, it was truly just 2-on-5 on offense. There was no ball movement. It was Booker and Durant just trying to put up any shots they could. Nobody to play make, nobody to facilitate unless Booker and Durant were becoming the facilitators, and in which case nobody else on their team was making shots. So they're in deep trouble. They have to win both of their next home games. Now, I'm not like you. I'm not saying the series is over, because one of the biggest mistakes in basketball or just in sports is a team wins 2 games at home and you think the series is over. That's what they're supposed to do. Series doesn't start until the road team wins. But Phoenix has got to win both of those home games, because there's no way in hell they're coming back from 3-1 with this roster and with this thin bench rotation.
Yeah, totally agree on that. I just think they're not that good. I think it was a waste to hammer him, Grant. And and I remember I said, "Hey, bet the Warriors at +900." That bet looks a little better than the Nuggets, not the Nuggets, the Suns at +200 towards the
It
final
does.
weeks of the season.
It does. It absolutely does. I thought the Suns were better than the Nuggets. I truly did. But the level of execution the Nuggets have displayed has just been awesome. And also, they've been able to survive the minutes without Jokic. This is a pretty incredible stat. The Nuggets with Jokic on the court had the best net rating in the NBA, and with him off the court had the worst net rating in the NBA. In game 2, the Suns with Jokic +2, the Suns without Jokic +8. They figured out how to win without Jokic, and maybe that doesn't hold up for the long term, but it's gotten them these first 2 wins, and that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, definitely. Heat Knicks. We'll keep it quick because this game's actually tonight. So by the time the podcast comes out, you'll know what happens here. Jimmy Butler's questionable for tonight. Brunson and Randall are both questionable as well. I can't see Jimmy Butler playing based on that injury. His ankle must have blown up after the game. But if he is on the floor, he'll help because he's their team. This Heat team is based around Jimmy Butler, and that's it. If he's not playing, they don't have a single chance.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, because Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are also questionable. So if we get a game where the 3 best players aren't playing, that's going to be pretty interesting. My betting advice, which again doesn't matter because this comes out after the game, but I would say wait right until tip off. If you insist on betting this game, I'm just going to stay away from this, because even if any of those 3 play, we don't know how effective they're going to be because of their various injuries. But yeah, Jimmy Butler has been everything for this team. He was everything in the first round. He was instrumental in them coming back to win that first game. Tanner, the question that I would ask you is that after that first game, if I'm the coach, if I'm Eric Spoelstra, I'm saying, look, we did our job. We stole home court, and we did it in game 1. I'm sending Jimmy Butler on a private jet back to Miami. You take the next few days. You get ready for game 3. Don't even worry about game 2. Like, what would you do?
I would do the same thing. You won. You got the job done. He's hurt. Obviously, if he plays tonight, like the risk reward is just not worth it. If he's got like a high ankle sprain or something, which he's probably not even going to be effective in game 3 for, but I would send him back, get him treatment, let him get around his family, let him ice up, rest, because it doesn't matter. Like they did their job. Winning 1 game on the road was good enough. I wouldn't force it. This is going to be a series that goes 6 or 7 games, in my opinion. Both these teams are pretty even, especially when Julius Randle does get healthy and is back in the lineup. So I would send him back. I wouldn't risk him rolling his ankle again and then being out for the remainder of the series. Because if that's the case, when Brunson and Randle do get healthy, this series would be over. Because the Knicks blew the first game. Again, we can give credit to them. We can give credit to the Heat for winning, but New York gave away the game just like the Boston Celtics did.